I think that's my claim to fame and why I'm here tonight. I'm very fortunate to be able to introduce to you Jim Nelson. I'm off to a bad start. Who is editor of the Tucson Weekly, a U of A journalism professor, does roundtable political talks on KUAT TV, as well as a regular talk show. I'm sure there's more, but we'll sum it up with that. So I want you to enjoy this evening. Jim and I will be your co-monitors for this evening's debate. Before we begin, and I think you've already heard this, but we'll do it again, please refrain from any interruptions. Before we begin, please silence all phones and electronic devices. Again, refrain from any extra noise because this is being recorded for use later on, and we want to come across well. Jim?
All right, well, thank you all for coming out this evening. It's important to know who's running for office and what they stand for, so it's a good thing you're all here to hear this from the candidates themselves. The Citizens Clean Elections Commission is the sponsor for this evening's event. The Clean Elections Act is a campaign finance reform and voter education measure initiated by Arizona citizens and passed by voters in 1998. As part of its role, Clean Elections provides clean funding for qualified participating candidates who agree to abide by the Clean Elections Act and rules. These include contribution and spending limits, foregoing special interest money, and participation in commission debates such as this one. We encourage audience questions, so please utilize the note cards that are available from the volunteers in the audience. When you get one, just hold your card up and a volunteer will come over and pick it up from you. If you need additional cards, just go ahead and raise your hand and they'll bring you a new card. And if you have a question for a specific candidate, go ahead and put that candidate's name on the card. We do screen the questions for clarity, to eliminate duplications, speeches, or personal account attacks on the candidates. A second debate will be scheduled for after the general election. It's on Thursday, September 30th. We may not get to all your audience questions, but we will certainly do our best.
So this evening is hosted by 3 community organizations. The first is the Greater Vail Area Chamber of Commerce, and I believe that Jeff Logston, the president, is here tonight. If you'd stand up, Jeff. Ah, there he is, right over there. Stacy Winston is a board member from the Vail Parent Network, and they are co-hosting tonight. And not only is she a board member, but she is the founder of the organization. Calvin Baker, superintendent of the Vail School District. I believe that he's here tonight representing the Vail Unified School District. But looking through the light, I think I see Associate Superintendent John Caruth. Would you wave your hand? I want to give special thanks to the Arizona Citizens Clean Elections Commission. And tonight we have with us Commissioner Galen D. Payton. We know Mr. Payton around here in Vail because for many years he was a well-known high school sports coach at Sabino Canyon, Sabino High School in softball, volleyball, and basketball. And we played against them. I'm not going to say who won. We also have Clean Election staff members with us tonight, Gina Roberts and Stephanie Cooper. Our timer for the evening is Debbie Brass. And she will show up the signs to tell us when it's time.
So, each of our Legislative District 14 candidates will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves in alphabetical order. So why don't we start now? Yeah. Oh, would you like to say a couple words? Please, step up.
Was kind of lurking in the background there. I'm Galen Payton, one of the Clean Elections Commissioners, and I'm just pleased that we have so many people here today. We've sponsored debates for many years, and a lot of times we just don't have that many people going to the debates. So it was my idea to start combining with high schools so we could involve students, we could get, they're more centralized to the community. And since I've been on the Clean Elections Commission, and I'm a former teacher, I wanted to improve the electorate's knowledge of the candidates. And it was very disappointing when we only have a few people showing up. So I'm very pleased that we have such a good crowd. Please come to the general election debate that we will have, and get your neighbors to come. We need more people to be knowledgeable about the candidates, what they stand for. Thank you.
There will be 3 different types of questions. The first type allows for each of the host companies, organizations, to submit 2 questions each. So that will be the Chamber of Commerce with 2 questions. That will be in the the Vail Parent Network with 2 questions. And then we have 2 questions from students from the Vail School District. The second type of question is one that's submitted online, where you can submit your question online, and that will be brought up to us. The third is that you can submit cards, your question on cards, which are being passed out. Just write your question on it, hold it up, and Jeff Longston and Stacy Wingston will come around and get them. Then Darcy Minton will be coordinating them. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to the question.
Okay. And actually, I think we need to introduce the candidates and give them their 2-minute opening statements. So I'll introduce you all first, and then we'll get into the opening statement. So we have here in alphabetical order Mr. Jaime Alvarez, Mrs. Melinda Mendy Gomez, Mr. David Gowan, Mr. Drew John, and Mrs. Lori Kilpatrick. Thank you all for coming out this evening. All right, and we'll start with 2-minute opening statements. And again, you'll get the timer over there. So if you exceed that limit and that stop sign comes up, we're going to have to cut you off. All right, so Mr. Alvarez, would you like to begin?
Good evening. Thank you, Vail Parent Network, Vail Chamber of Commerce, for asking us to participate here with the Clean Elections and your forum here. My name is Jaime Alvarez. I'm originally from the Burg of the Lord in the land of enchantment, Lordsburg, New Mexico. Not too far down from here, but the thing is, what you see there in my little town is now happening to our legislative district. I'm a Marine Corps veteran and retired Army auditor. Combined, I have 35 years as a dedicated public servant. I served 19 years overseas. Arriving in Arizona in 2002, I had no idea that I would be running for state senator 14 years later. My children were finished with college by the time we moved here. 2 of my 3 sons live in Arizona and are public school teachers, as well as a daughter-in-law who's also a teacher, and another who's currently working on her master's degree to become an administrator. My wife, Martha, is a retired school teacher. 7 of our 10 grandchildren will be in public schools here in our state. In 2012, right after I retired, I started volunteering in schools and saw firsthand the impact of cutting public school funding. That's what got me into the election in 2016 and again this year. Back then, I was called a one-issue candidate because of education. Today, education is still my priority, but so is our district economy, healthcare, and water. Don't you think it's time that we get the government to do what it's meant to do? Serve your needs and not the needs of rich corporations and special interest groups, groups that impede or try to stop people from forcing the legislature to fund education. Thank you, Red for Ed, for shining light on them.
Thank you. And now Mrs. Gomez.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Mindy Gomez. I'm the Democratic primary candidate for LD14. I would like to begin by thanking my friends and family for all the love and support and encouragement during this campaign. I could not do this without all of them. We are a state full of promise. We need to strengthen our educational system, secure economic growth in our rural communities, create quality healthcare system that protects all Arizonans, and protect our precious natural resources. My experience in the classroom and education advocacy work and my involvement in the Red for Ed movement, I am ready to tackle the education issues in our state. With regards to economic growth, as a former member of my Community Action Board, I am prepared to tackle issues on securing job growth and infrastructure in our unique communities. Healthcare. Every Arizonan should be afforded access to quality, reliable healthcare. I will work hard to make healthcare a priority, especially in our rural districts. Environmental protection. Southeastern Arizona has a precious resource, water. I will work hard to ensure that the resources we have are here now and in the future. My experience growing up in a military family, my dad is here, so hi Dad, has given me and taught me how to solve problems, specifically by facing those challenges head on, and then working hard to find a comprehensive solution. I'm ready to head to our capital to solve real issues that affect all Arizonans. This is my community. I live in Vail. I started my teaching career here. I've served on several community boards and education advocacy groups. I look forward to your support, and I'm looking forward to representing all of you. Again, my name is Mindy Gomez, and I'm the Democratic primary candidate.
Thank you, Mrs. Gomez. And Mr. Gowan.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you guys inviting us out here and putting this on so you can figure out who we are, right? Well, I'm David Gowan. I'm former Arizona Speaker of the House. In fact, it was a pleasure and honor to serve you guys for 8 years at the state capitol. And it was an honor to fight for our border security, fight for our veterans, fight for our Second Amendment rights, all our constitutional rights, you know, that tick a pounding sometimes, but you got a fighter right here that'll continue to do that for you. And when I got in the state legislature, our budget was slated to be spent was about $10.4 billion. We were only getting $6.5 billion in revenue in. Well, first weeks in office, I do a budget, and we're just cutting it to a $3 billion hole. You all remember 2009 and up. It was some bad years. Well, 8 years later, I happened to become the Speaker of the House, first Southern Arizona Speaker in almost 30 years, and my last issue that I get to do, my last goal, is accomplished by getting the budget structurally balanced so that when I leave, our economy is roaring. Well, now we got a President Trump over here doing pretty well for us, I believe, and with that, he's helping our state do the best it can in its economy just as well. With that, you know, I was Military Affairs Public Safety Chairman, and I want to say a hearty prayer out to our fallen trooper that just was killed in action last night. And we have 2 that were shot as well, and they're in the hospital. So they're near and dear to my heart, and I pray for their families. And we are safe right now because they do their duty. So with that, I want to say thank you to them, but I want to get back up there and fight for those Second Amendment rights again. I want to fight for our veterans. I want to fight for our first responders. I want to help President Trump with our state secure this border. So I'm David Gowan, August 28th. Vote for David Gowan, and we'll get back up there and continue to fight the fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gowan. Drew John.
Yes, thank you all for being here today, especially all of you in Vail here for coming out tonight. Thank the Chamber, VPN, and those that put this event on. It's always good to be in Vail and see so many people that have enjoyed the education system that you have here, and you should be proud of. You know, I've been in the House of Representatives for 2 years. I'm from this district, went to school in Benson, Raised on the farm and a ranch down the river from Benson, and live in Safford right now. I spent 4 years on the school board at the Safford School Board, and then 16 years as a county supervisor. We did quite well in Graham County. We actually, the last 2 years that I was supervisor, we actually got the award for having the best bang for the taxpayer buck of all the counties in the state, because we were conservative and we kept an eye on dollars and we spent the money that we had, and that was it. My background and experience is in business. I did quite a few different businesses with my family. Started when I was 17 years old in a meat packing plant, and we've had block plants, motorcycle dealerships, tractor dealerships, and that. This year in the House of Representatives was a rough year, but we got a lot done. It was definitely a historic session with everything that went on and with everything that came out of the budget. Vail School District did quite well the last 2 years. There's only one school being built in the state of Arizona right now, and that's in Vail. And that was something that the governor and myself and the speaker put together. And so we're excited about Vail having that school district, the school being built here. Thank you all that supported me last time. I would look forward to you supporting me again this time. I'm running for the Senate. I appreciate your support, and thank you again for allowing us all to be here.
All right. Thank you, Mr. John. And then finally, we have, not last but not least, except in alphabetical order, Mrs. Lori Kilpatrick.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to the Vail Chamber of Commerce, the Vail Parent Network, Vail School District, Empire High School, and of course, Clean Elections. Debates across the state are no easy task, without a doubt. The opportunity for candidates to share and the opportunity for the people to become informed is very important, especially in a government built on the power of the people. August 28th, the people will choose their party's candidate. The Republican ticket has 3. All of us saying we're Republicans and all of us saying we're conservative. Today, I will tell you who I am and where I stand. I believe in this country, and I believe in this Constitution. I believe in the right to life. I believe in individual liberties and freedoms granted by God. I believe in fiscal conservatism. I am a card-carrying Second Amendment fighter. I believe in our government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And mostly, I believe in the power of we the people. Somewhere along our path, we stopped electing representatives and elected career establishment politicians. We elected a name and not a person. Our problems are in our communities, and that's where our solutions are. We need people with integrity that show up and find the solutions, representatives that work with we the people every day, not just during elections. We need new ideas and new energy, not the status quo. I am part of this community, and I show up. I am a U.S. Army veteran. I own a small business. No one will ever work harder than I do. My name is Lori Kilpatrick, and I am the most conservative choice for State Senate.
So next on our agenda, we're going to deal with the questions that have been brought to us by our host organization. We're going to start with the Vail Parent Network. Jim and I are going to each take one and turn the mic over to the next person. But in order to make sure this is fair, we are going to ask on this first question, Mr. Goen, if you will start first and work that way so that everybody has a chance to be first and last. The question is, new school construction is currently funded at less than half the cost to build a fully funded school. What is your plan to fully fund the School Facilities Board?
Oop, are we on? Thank you. You know, now that we've come out of what we've seen as the worst budget crisis that we've had in history, you know, it was hard to get through those years and do our best to make sure everybody was taken care of. You know, what's interesting is we hear a lot about on the education side that they were cut tremendously, and they had some issues there where the funding was at the point. But through across the board, a lot of people had been hurt by the economy, and we had to do our best to spread that money across. But now that we're seeing dollars come forth, we do need to take care of those issues to make sure that the growth, because I know in Vail we're growing tremendously here and quickly, and we do need to be able to make sure that we have these schools propped up and that we have enough teachers out there to teach our children, for as many children as we have out there. So I'm good with us looking at the budget and seeing where we get those dollars, bring them out, and make sure that we build these schools to preference so we can teach our children. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. John?
Yes, new schools is a problem, but we have another problem that's sneaking up on us right now, and that's some of the older schools in rural Arizona are falling apart because district additional assistance was cut back in 2008 to 2010. It won't be restored for another 5 years. We have schools that are falling apart, and I see that a little bit lightly because I'm not saying they're just falling down, but there's problems with these schools. What's happening, and we have some in Safford and in Wilcox, that it's cheaper to tear down the school and build a new one. And so we're having these issues popping up in rural Arizona on our older schools, so we have an issue there. I had a meeting on Tuesday with the staff on the school problem, and there's going to be some serious reform on the school facilities board, trying to figure out what we need to do to make sure and take care of both problems and set policy in place. Our budget's looking good, the state's looking good financially, and that's going to be one of my priorities, is to make sure education, just like it has been in the last 2 years. Thank you.
Mrs. Kirkpatrick?
Funding of schools, at this point, we spend 43% of our general budget goes to education. That's a lot of money. There is no reason why our schools are not able to maintain themselves except for one reason, and that's money mismanagement and deregulation. We need to deregulate these unfunded mandates that are stifling our communities and stopping our local school boards from handling their business affairs so that they can fund these schools. We need to cut the power from the federal government, from the state government, and put it back in the hands of these communities so that we can take care of these issues.
Thank you. Mr. Alvarez?
Invest in ed. That has been the thing that is going to get this thing going back. If you don't start investing in education now, we're not going to get there. The way that the budget is set up, the restraints on trying to get more money, it's not going to happen. This paying Peter to pay Paul, that's why we're in this situation. The legislature could put it to the people as a ballot, as a proposal, to see about getting additional funding to do that. They don't. That's why I say invest in ed. I am for that, and that's how we're going to get it done. We the people.
Thank you. Mrs. Gomez?
We definitely, as a community member here in Vail, we have a tremendous overcrowding problem. I know that the school district is also going out for a bond here in November. And we're lucky here in Vail because we've been very successful in passing our bonds and overrides to help our community schools. However, we still need state revenue. We need to look at our state budget and find out where can we cut, where can we move dollars to strengthen our revenue so those dollars will flow into the education system to be able to afford new schools, repairing older schools. We need to look at all of the infrastructure, and we need to look at all of the revenue sources to see if we can appropriately move them to education.
All right, thank you to all the candidates. This question, I want to ask, if you have supported increased funding for education in the past, can you talk a little bit about why that was important to you? And then also, if elected, would you support increasing funding to education beyond population growth and inflation? And we will start with Mr. John down there.
Thank you. You know, this year we actually put a pretty good plan together with the governor. I supported. I was actually one of the first ones that came out and supported the 20 by 2020. And what this was is a lot of your schools that were struggling. Wasn't so much that was the teachers were having problems because they didn't have the money, but the biggest problem is they weren't getting funding in their soft capitals and for their books and their schools. So we set a plan in place that in 5 years they will be fully funded. It's $100 million. So in those 5 years, they'll be fully funded with the district additional assistance. And then in 3 years, the teachers will have, the schools will have the money to be able to give the teachers a 20% raise in that period of time. And some say that, well, that didn't happen. I have a school in our district that's in Thatcher. They gave a 16% raise to their teachers and a 5% raise to the rest of their staff. So I would continue to stay with that plan. I promise to stick with it, and I will continue to stick with it.
All right, Ms. Kilpatrick.
I think there are other options before we increase and break the backs of our taxpayers anymore. Like I said, 43% of the general budget is already going to education. 1% goes to our security, to our sheriff's departments and police forces. So that's a huge amount that we are already spending out of our budget. There is no wiggle room other places within the budget to pull more money. I get back to the same thing. When we deregulate, when we cure the mismanagement problems and stop basing our budgets on future possible earnings that come from investments that may or may not come to fruition, then we can find sustainable solutions within the budget. So I'm going to say that the first thing that I would do is I would look to deregulate and get the power back to the people to handle the budgets themselves instead of relying on people who do not know what they're doing.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll move over here to Mr. Alvarez.
If you have an opportunity this evening on the table where my literature is, I've got a little flyer out there. The flyer is to show you what has been going on. Since 2009 through 2019, the Joint Legislative Budget Committee has shown where the taxes, or the revenues rather, towards the general fund from the corporations have gone down from 6.7 to 2%. Individual income taxes contributing to the general fund have now increased from 2009, 29% to 41%. Those corporations that control these professional politicians, they're getting what they want, and we, the people, are suffering.
And Ms. Gomez.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again?
The question is, well, you haven't been in office, if I understand correctly. So
No.
Would you support increasing education funding beyond population growth and inflation?
Yeah, well, as a school teacher, as a public school teacher, I absolutely would support any legislation that would allow for increased funding in education. Again, here in the Vail School District, we've been, as a community member, we've been very lucky in passing those increased taxes, and again, we're going out again. But we've also have been able to effectively get a return on our investment. So I think we need to look at the budget and look and see what we can do to help expand the budget and expand revenues so that we don't necessarily always have to rely on population growth and tax increases.
The next two questions are from the Greater Vail
Oh, wait, David? David didn't get a chance to answer. I'm sorry. Mr. Gowan, please, my apologies.
Forgotten already, huh? All right, thank you. Well, you know, my degree is education social studies from U of A, and, you know, I take great interest in education. I believe that's the backbone of America, so we know where we came from, so we know where we don't lead back to, and it is a great issue out there. I will tell you, mine was Prop 123. I actually put that on the ballot, and it doesn't seem like it accumulated as much dollars as it needed to, as I believe, but Problem with that is, even after that, as we go in and we start increasing the budget with the education side, we're actually well over 50% of our state budget is at education. It's much larger than that. And what we need to do is look at different issues like accountability and what the impact of school choice is. I'm a big proponent of school choice. I believe parents have the right to look anywhere they need to and utilize those dollars to help them with their children, because it's all about how the child is educated. That's the biggest point, and that's what I believe in.
Thank you. Okay, now we are ready for the Greater Vale Area Chamber of Commerce. There are two questions. The first one is, and we will start then with Ms. Kilpatrick. How do you propose building an economic balanced tax structure to build the economy while sufficiently funding infrastructure and education?
Well, we're on our governor now has our unemployment now levels are at the lowest they've been. We've got many issues or many new things that are happening in our government. We've created policies that are making it easier for businesses to build and survive. So I hope to continue forward with those. Right now, Arizona is the top two states, one of the top two states that are primed for new businesses to come into. And talking with many people about the growth, the one thing they say they need the most in Arizona jobs is talent. So they're looking for a talent force to fill these jobs, and that by creating a flat tax rate for individuals, I think we'll create a stronger tax base without the loopholes, without the issues, and then we'll be able to build the jobs and the businesses even more and help our education, which will bring in the talent as well.
Thank you. Mr. Alvarez.
I think that we need to start off by getting dedicated funding streams for our education system and have that separate from the general revenue fund, because then we can look at both and we will know whether the revenue streams that we establish for education are going to work or not. And we can then not be in the situation of robbing Peter to pay Paul consistently. That's one of the biggest problems that we've got here. And with this mentality of prosperity through tax cuts, that's wrong. You've got to increase your money for education so that you can get the workforce educated to the levels for the businesses that are going to bring in the higher paying jobs.
Thank you. Mrs. Gomez?
Well, we first need to look again at increasing our revenue. So I think what we need to do is look at collecting back business tax revenue that's owed to the state. We need to, by increasing that, that's a good way to increase the revenue without actually having to increase taxes.
Thank you.
All right. A second question from the chamber.
Did you forget me
wait,
again?
What? Oh, come on. Yeah, I think actually we forgot.
I'm in the middle here somehow.
Yeah. David?
Yeah, I know.
Let's switch some seats. Musical chairs. David, please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Well, I've gone through this. Like I said, when I got in the legislature in 2009, we had the worst budget years in state history. We had to figure that out. We had to figure out, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this economy? Well, in my efforts and the legislative efforts were to actually get out of the way of our businesses, and that has actually helped a lot. Deregulation has helped tremendously. Cutting taxes. Look at the economy. Even before President Trump got in there and was doing the same thing, our state was recovering. And then after President Trump got in and started to do the deregulation and was able to get Congress to move and do a tax cut, boom, our economy's starting to roll. That helps grow jobs. It helps expand the dollars that come into the state government, and that allows us to utilize those dollars to spend. Hopefully, we spend it fiscally responsible, and that's what I want to do when I get back up.
Thank you. Mr. John?
Yes. Our state right now is in a very healthy state, and Maricopa is actually the #1 county in the nation, large county in growth. some of the policies that has been put in place to allow corporations to do better in Arizona has made a big difference. The growth that we have had in the last 2 years have been tremendous enough to be able to afford to be able to do the education plan that we have in place, and we expect it to continue to grow. Our base is growing. I think that the responsible budgeting that's happening right now is making a big difference. Our priorities are in the right place, which is education, because education grows our economy, and the more money we put into education, the better our economy will do. And so I feel good about the direction we're going, and I think that we just have to keep an eye on that and not get too excited about the revenue that we have and be responsible with it. Don't overspend, be ready in case something does happen, but make sure that our education and our businesses do well and our economy grows.
Right. Thank you to all of you for that one. And so this is another one from the Chamber. And what they're wondering is what plans do you have to improve infrastructure in the Tucson and Southern Arizona community? And we'll start with Mr. Alvarez on this one.
In the Tucson area,
Tucson and Southern Arizona.
I'm more focused on my district right now, the portion of Vail here that's included. Right now, I think that Tucson is doing a heck of a lot better than LD 14, and I think that with Caterpillar coming in and with the mine that's being put in, I think that they've got a heck of a lot going for them as opposed to our legislative district. When I'm your senator, I'm going to focus on that, and I'm going to look at other areas for other towns and cities, but my main priority is going to be LD 14.
All right. And Mrs. Gomez, what plans do you have to improve infrastructure in the Tucson and Southern Arizona community?
Well, so if you, again, I would like to focus more on LD 14 part of Tucson.
Still Southern Arizona.
In Southern Arizona. So, yes, well, if many of you have driven, you understand that some of these roads are not exactly stellar. What I would like to see is, I would like to see an increase and looked at the fuel, specifically the fuel tax revenue. The Auditor General stated that the Department of Education's projected revenues will total about $88.9 billion for the fiscal years of 2010 through 2035. However, the revenues will total only $26.2 billion, a $62.2 billion shortfall, and specifically with the fuel tax revenue. The fuel tax revenue has not actually increased in some time, so I would like to look at that as well.
All right, Mr. Gowan, we're not going to forget you this time.
That's because you have two others after me. So, Southern Arizona, I defend my district just as well, but we are Southern Arizonans. We do have issues that we have to take up as a whole. And there are a lot of us in our district that drive all the way through Tucson and Pima and all that just as well. There's a major issue up there it's been on the books for a long time, and it's not necessarily cut all the time. We call it HURF, Highway User Revenue Fund. It's fully funded every year because we say fund it, but it used to be formulated to where we didn't have to say that. And so the plan is to go back up and make sure that HURF is taken care of, and we can do that out of our general fund. We don't have to raise taxes. All we have to do, like I said, when I structurally balanced the budget, we were at $9.3 billion. Today we're at 10.4. We've spent in 2 years $1.1 billion. We don't need to raise taxes to cover these issues. We can do that now.
Mr. John?
Yes. As Vice Chair of Transportation and hopefully Chair of Transportation in the Senate, there's a problem with our HURF dollars, like Mr. Gowan's saying, the Highway User Revenue Funds. The bigger cities, because of the population, get a big chunk of that. But the problem has been in the past with the cost shifts to the counties, and DPS has been financed and run out of the HURF dollars. They've been using $120 million a year to operate DPS. What we did this year, and we worked on it last year as a Transportation Committee, was this year we turned around and took DPS out of the HURF dollars and put them on their own financial basis through the license fee, and then turned around and relieved $120 million to be able to be spent on our roads. Yes, Arizona, the whole state of Arizona will share that $120 million, but the bigger cities have been in the position where they've had that money, where it hasn't been in southern Arizona, and now we're going to start getting that bigger portion of that, and it's made a big difference already, and it's going to help a lot coming in the future.
Finally, Mrs. Kilpatrick.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to sort of piggyback here a little bit on the HERF funds because that's the issue that takes care of our roads, and it is a problem in rural Arizona. This fund is taken from our gas taxes and sent up to a big pot in Maricopa County, and then it's divided. Well, it's been being robbed for a very long time, and we've not been getting our funds. Well, Mr. Mr. John is right. He did restore some of those, the ability to get these HERF funds back by adding a new tax onto our driver's license. What we need is somebody who will go up there and will fight for what's rightfully ours. It also gets back down to a money management problem. In Cochise County alone, there's $10 million sitting in an account right now to be spent on our roads that is not going to be spent because it was not allocated out. So it'll be transferred over to next year, which we will not be able to use because there's caps put on what we can and can't spend every year. So we have to take care of mismanagement, and we have to get someone who will fight and advocate for our funds for us.
Thank you. Now, the most exciting of the entire evening, not that you all aren't, but we have 2 questions from the students from Empire High School, and I'm going to start with the first one. Do you believe the U.S. government is justified in separating families at the border even though they enter the country illegally? And we will start with Mr. Gowan because he got sort of waylaid on the other time.
So you hit me on that. That's a good one. You know, the separating of families, it's a sad thing. I think what we need to do is, I'm with the president on where we need to secure this border. And I've always been on that. We need to stop the illegal incursion. And that just doesn't mean our illegal aliens. It also means the illegal incursion of our drugs. You know, there's plenty of things that occurs down on this border that many don't know. We call them north and southbounders. And the cartel movement brings up these drugs, and they cut open our fences for all of our ranchers. They come up and they drop the drugs at I-10, and then they become southbounders. At that time, they become looters, and they loot these homes. And then they go back in and do the same thing over and over. And I wish that were reported a lot more. But when you're talking about this issue, you know, I love my family. I don't want to see families separated, not at all. So what we need to do is hopefully stop them at the border where they don't come across and they don't incur here illegally. But that obviously is a major federal issue.
Mr. John.
You bet. Well, I think the issue here is securing the border. We've got to get that border secured so we don't have these type of problems. Separating the kids from their families, we all know that's terrible, and it's a bad thing to do, and we've got to figure out a way to handle it. But until we get our border secure, we're going to have more issues like this. We're going to have more drugs coming in. We're going to have more of taking women and sex trafficking and that type of thing. We have got to get that border secure and follow the law. And so I do support President Trump on what he's trying to do. But I think we need to come up with a better way on our keeping our kids from being separated from their parents. We've got to figure something out there that's better than what's going on now. I don't have the answer, but I feel there's a problem there we need to look at. Securing the borders is the biggest answer.
All right, Ms. Kilpatrick.
We have a serious problem, and it's separating kids from their parents is a horrible issue, but the bigger issue is the sex trafficking that's coming across. Many of these children that are coming across are not with their parents. When they come across, we have taken it upon ourselves to ensure the safety, and we are tasked with the responsibility of making sure these children are cared for. The only way we can do that is to vet them and to vet who they came across with and ensure that it is their parents. Unfortunately, that means a time of separation between the true families that are coming across. And that's a hard choice to make. And while I'm not in favor of it and we need a better system, short of securing this border entirely, we have got to separate sometimes families to ensure that these kids that are being trafficked, whatever the word, trafficked, are actually taken care of.
Mr. Alvarez.
Lori, I want to thank you for getting back to the question. It has to do with separation, and I don't think that it should have any, I don't think that there should be any kind of separation, and there never should have been, and I think that the president really has lost focus on the values of America, which have to do with humanity, and you don't separate families.
Excuse me?
Am I allowed to rebut it at
We're
all?
not doing rebuttals. That's not. If you want to address it the next time around, you can. And Ms. Gomez.
Well, yes, the tragedy of separating families, I think we're better than this. But I agree that we do have to secure our borders. We also have to look at the policies with regards to why we're separating children. My issue is I understand that, you know, as families are coming in and they're coming into this country illegally. However, because of the nature of the process, they are getting separated. My concern is that one is the separation, but two, we're separating these children without any type of documentation of where they're at, where they're going, where are they located. I think that's a bigger concern that we have to look at as to what are the policy, what is the procedure. No one really knows. No one really knows what happens to these children, and why aren't we able to be accountable for those children that have been separated from their families.
Thank you very much. And we have another question from the students out here, and this is, if you were to increase education funding, where would you cut elsewhere in the budget? And we'll start this time, Mr. John.
Repeat that again there.
If you were to increase education funding, where would you cut elsewhere in the budget in order to do that? If you were to...
Okay, well, right now, we're already budgeted to increase education. Okay?
Okay.
So we're already in place to do that. We also have the inflationary amount that's in there. So within 5 years, we will be above 2008 dollars by then, quite a bit above because of inflation. So, but there's going to be the growth that we have that we're anticipating to help pay for that. We believe will continue to grow, and we will use that money to make sure and go towards education, towards capital, hard capital, towards buildings, and that type of thing. So I think our growth and our plan, our economic plan to help the communities grow, to help the state grow, I think the growth in the economy and the dollars that we have collected from that will be able to take care of that stuff.
So that would sufficiently fund education just for the growth in the economy. All right, Ms. Kilpatrick, and if you want to address that other question at this time, you can do that.
I don't even remember now what I was going to say.
All right, well, then let's just talk about education. And then the
Okay.
question from the students, if you were to increase education funding, where would you cut elsewhere in the budget?
I don't think there is anywhere else to cut in the budget. What we have to do is find additional resources, and one of those schools are primarily funded through property taxes, and Arizona is only currently taxing 13 to 20% of their land. The rest is BLM land that is the federal government has control of. We have to get that back. President Trump has released some in other states, so I'm hopeful that we can get some of that released back into our state so that we can build our revenue that way. Right now, again, like I said, 43% of the general fund alone. If you look at the entire funding that's going through education, we're looking at over 55% of our budget is going towards education. We can't, there is nowhere else. We've got to fund, we have other forces, our police force haven't had a raise in 13 years. If we're not secure and we don't have safety, our society is going to collapse as well. They need raises as well. Many organizations have fallen on the sword during our decline of income. So now we need to get them all back up to standard. But with education, looking at the BLM land is a really strong possibility for me.
All right. Mr. Alvarez, your thoughts, if you were to increase funding for education, where might you cut elsewhere in the state budget?
You know, that question gets back to my reply several times this evening. This budget process that we have in Arizona is so backwards, it's so antiquated. I mean, it's from years ago, and it needs to be changed. When a student realizes that they have to cut somewhere else because this is all we've got, and when you listen to each one of these individuals talking and they say, we don't have enough money for ADOT, we don't have enough money for education, we don't have enough money coming from HERF dollars, we don't have enough money for DPS, we don't have enough money for DCS, we don't have enough for access, we don't have enough for the U.S. Geological Survey that used to be here. What does that tell you? We do not have enough revenue, and we've got to try and focus on that. Get the revenue. Those tax credits that kept going to all the corporations that have now put us in this bind, where they are only paying 2% of the general fund, that's got to be reversed.
All right, and Ms. Gomez.
What I would like to see is I'd like to look at again, what Mr. Alvarez had said, is the corporate taxes. What's happening with that, looking at allocating possibly reduction in corporate tax to Arizona. Again, education is funded primarily from two sources, property tax and sales tax. So we need to make sure that we're looking at different revenue sources with regards to funding education. As far as what I would cut in the budget, I would look at, again, specifically those tax cuts.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Gow?
Thank you. I was waiting on you. You know, I've been up there when we had to cut, and cut deep. And nobody wants to do that. That is no fun. I don't want to cut at all in the budget. Never have, never want to do it again. And I will tell you, the things that we were able to do, as I spoke about earlier with the deregulation and lowering some taxes and starting to pinpoint, that started to help the economy turn around. And by turning around, that allowed us to start getting a little more money in. That's how you do it. That's how you increase anything in the budget. You don't need to go and cut. What you need to do is go in there and make sure that our businesses are taken care of, so that the economy grows, so yours and my families put to work. That's the best thing that I want to see happen.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Brown, you already took a swing at this one, right? Yeah? No? Okay, go.
Already answered.
You started. That's what I thought. All right.
I started.
Okay, this is very exciting here. We have a slew of cards up here with people wanting to ask questions. So we are going through them and removing those that are duplicates and trying to get to the best ones that we can immediately. So I'm going to start with this question. What is your plan to prevent school shootings in our schools? And I would like to start with Meeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Ms. Kilpatrick.
Thank you. Well, we have to harden our schools. There's no doubt about it. In Cochise County, Sheriff Daniels is working really hard, giving our students a little bit of empowerment back through the ALICE program. And that's helping, giving them options to teach them how to handle the situation. I'm a firm believer that if you create a gun-free zone, you create a victim zone. Putting guns in the hands of just anybody in the school is not necessarily a good answer. We have to look at options. A good guy with a gun will always trump a bad guy with a gun, or at least help the situation, because the fact is it takes about 15 minutes for first responders to get to our schools. The average is it takes 12 minutes for the shooter to finish in the schools. So we have to figure out some other issues. We have to continue to harden our schools, but supporting the kids and teaching them how to handle the situation and our teachers how to handle the situation by survival techniques is the best option. And I'm liking what's happening with the ALICE program a lot.
Thank you. Mr. Alvarez?
I think that we need to ensure that there's funding available for each school campus, not school district, each school campus. We need to have restricted access to schools. Right now, even though there's that requirement, it's not always there. We need to make sure that we have school-certified counselors and psychologists. Right now, Arizona has the worst ratio of counselors to students in the country. We need to make sure that we have security officers there, qualified security officers. Combined with certified school teachers, these people can be part of a threat assessment team within each school. Teams can focus on those they consider at risk and begin an intervention process. This could also be tied in with the community mental and behavioral health centers, which requires additional funding. Oh, here we go again, funding. I tell you, this quagmire that we're in, this budget process that we have here, it's got to be corrected.
Thank you. Ms. Gomez?
So as a public school teacher, as a teacher mentor, I travel around to several different schools, and I work in several different classrooms. So I live this issue of school safety every single day. What I would like to see is increased funding for school psychologists, school counselors, but I would also like to see funding for school resource officers. I had a conversation with an owner, a business owner down in Sierra Vista a few weeks back. And I asked him, this gentleman is a former Marine Corps sniper. He's a former police detective, and he also owns a gun store down in Cochise County. And I asked him during our conversation, from your perspective, what do you think is the best solution for the school safety? And he looked at me and he said, put more resource officers in classrooms, or in schools. And we had a great discussion about that. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Goen?
Oh, there we go. Well, I think hardening of the schools we're going to have to do at the moment, and that means bringing in some type of security. Either it's going to be some teachers who wish to be trained to protect their students, looking at, even when we're talking about resource officers, security style, and looking at former police officers or military and that nature. You know, you also have to look for the mental illness situation too as you watch. You have to have awareness. I teach martial arts, and there's, when you teach it, you teach an awareness about you, about people who are around you. And there are many of those times where we think some of those shootings could have been stopped just because we knew that there was something happening. They were reported several times. So we have to be aware of the situation just as well. But certainly adding the hardening to that, that's the major issue here.
All right, we're going to go to just asking, we have a lot of questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. True. Sorry, my apologies.
That's all right. You know, there was some language that the governor brought together for this year called Safe Schools that we looked at. It got towards the end of it. It was end of session. It cost $17.5 million. It was mostly experimental items and that type of thing. What my feeling was on it is I'm a big believer in local control, and with local control meaning your school boards, your administration, and what you do is you let those schools get the information they need for that school to protect their school, whether it's to secure it, whether it's St. David, whether it's Benson, whether it's Vail, Empire, wherever. You let them go. Give them the tools to be able to assess the problems and figure out what they might need. I mean, one place might just need bulletproof glass. Another one might need resource officers. You know, mental illness is an issue, and with our society the way it is now, more money definitely needs to be spent on on our counselors to identify those mental issues early and hopefully be able to help those kids before they get into a bad situation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So time is flying by here. We're running out of time, and there's a lot of questions. So we've been asked to switch over to asking each of you one question, an answer, and then move on to the next question. So we'll get some different questions down the row here. But before we do that, I want to ask two questions where you just raise your hand, yes or no. One of them is there's a possibility that there'll be a ballot proposition that would increase the income tax on highest earners in order to fund education. Would you raise your hand if you support that proposition? Okay. And then secondly, there's a referendum on the ballot that would roll back a proposed expansion of these empowerment scholarship accounts that critics say are vouchers. Would you raise your hand if you support that becoming law? Becoming law. If you're going to vote yes. If you like the ESAs, you like the ESA law, raise your hand. If you don't, okay.
School choice. Boom.
All right. Great. All right. So
Thank
that
you,
was
parents.
And now we're back to one-on-one questions, and I think are we up to Mr. Gomez again on questions? All right. So pick one for Mr. Gomez,
Ms. Gomez?
if you would.
I'm
Mrs. Gomez. Sorry, I'm confused. Terribly.
That's Mr. Alvarez.
Mr.
I'm
Alvarez,
Mrs. Gomez.
I've got to keep all these things straight. Terrible.
Okay, the question is, mental health is a huge problem in the new millennium. The changes are, what changes are you hoping to implicate locally as well as statewide to help with this problem? Mrs. Gomez.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was? Mental health. We need to tackle the issue of mental health. We have, for too long, it's been kind of this silent issue that we haven't really dealt with. We need to make sure that we have proper healthcare funding for mental health, and we need to make sure that it's accessible, especially in rural communities. Rural communities don't have a lot of access, majority of the time, to hospitals, or they have to travel great distances. So we need to make sure that we have proper funding for healthcare, mental health care in Arizona.
Thank you. Mr. Goen?
Oh, no, we're doing
Oh, we're just one?
One question.
Okay.
Yes. All right, Mr. Gowan, this one from the audience towards you. During your time as speaker, you reimbursed the state more than $10,000 for campaign-related trips and allegedly allowed your spokeswoman to work a no-show job while she worked for President Trump's transition. Given these and other issues, why should voters give you their vote again?
Well, if you're asking why they should vote for me, because first of all, when I got there, we had the worst budget in the state's history, as I talked before. And it was a $3 billion hole. And being the first Southern Arizona speaker when we're dominated by Maricopa, with 19 of the 30 districts coming out of there, you got a guy right here that has good relationships, good strength to do the things necessary for what we need in Southern Arizona. And before I left the legislature, the budget was balanced. We were #1 in gun rights in the United States. We were #1 in school choice in the United States. And we were #1 in pro-life issues in the United States. That is why you need to vote for me and put me back up there so I can continue to fight that fight for us.
All right, how about a question for Mr. John?
Southeastern Arizona is considered a low-wage gold mine for business. How can we turn this perception around and bring business and well-paying jobs to Southeast Arizona?
I missed the first part of that. I couldn't understand what you were saying there. Sorry.
It's okay. Southeast Arizona is considered a low-wage gold mine for business. How can we turn this perception around and bring business and well-paying jobs to Southeast Arizona?
Yeah, that's a tough one because when you don't have the people trained in your rural areas, in your smaller rural areas, it's difficult for businesses to come in there because they don't have the workforce to take care of them. as far as wages, I think that the businesses that are there, if we give them the opportunity to prosper through deregulation or less government on top of them and trying to get more out of them, I think they'll be able to prosper and be able to pay their employees better. But for the government to step in and tell a business to pay, you have to pay this, you're regulating them, and then it's just not the right thing to do for business.
Thank you.
Ms. Kilpatrick, what is your perspective on state government regulations on local businesses?
State government regulation on local businesses?
Yeah.
I don't agree with it. I mean, you gotta deregulate. You have to let capitalism work. You have to let business and enterprise grow on its own. It will take care of the communities if you give it the chance to actually flourish without the government controls that are placed on it. Forced business is never a solution to prosperity. It's going to create complacency, it's going to create mediocrity, and it will create a decline in the civilization and in payroll. You got to deregulate. You got to get the state out of the way.
All right. One for Mr. Alvarez.
Mr. Alvarez, would you vote to raise state gas taxes? If so, how much?
I'm not sure about the gas tax because, like what we're supposed to be getting for the HERF dollars right now, it's not working. And I'm not sure that's the right approach because it's already difficult. Let me tell you a situation that goes on in our legislative district. You've got all of these truckers going back and forth from the mines, from Morenci, but yet they don't get any taxes on gas because all of those truckers that are coming in fill up before they get there, and they're filled up and they go back. And so we don't get gas taxes from there. And then when the highway goes down on I-10, and they all have to go through Duncan and over to Safford and then to avoid the problems on I-10, we're not getting anything there except for the deterioration of our roads. So I'm not sure that a gas tax is really going to help us. Whether you put it throughout the whole state or not, you're going to get some income, but I don't think that that's a source of revenue that we should be seeking. I think it should be some other means.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Gomez, what policies do you have to fight opioid abuse?
Well, what I would like to see is an increase in healthcare accessibility in rural areas. I attended a forum down in Douglas a few months back, and when a person is in crisis, the local police department is able to help with the overdose. However, they have to be transported to Tucson for full medical treatment. They cannot access the necessary drugs to fight the addiction in their areas. They can go to Benson, which has a crisis center, but they are not a medicinal. They cannot prescribe the medication that is needed to fight that addiction. So the addict has to come to Tucson to get their medication, and they're only given 3 days.
All right, Ann?
Mr. Goen, would you agree to stop corporate tax reductions? What are your ideas about taxes, sales tax on services?
I got a couple here. So the first one was, do I agree on taxing corporate income tax or higher?
On stopping corporate tax reduction.
Stopping the reduction of income? Okay, a little confused, but let me answer the way I think you're saying. I believe right now the way they're being taxed at a level we need to continue to bring some of those dollars down so that they can promote and push those dollars into the economy by hiring more people, buying more equipment, doing those things. That's how you generate money through an economy at the local. And what was the last part? Do I support a service tax?
Yes.
I do not, no. I'm a realtor, and I don't believe in doing service tax. I get haircuts. I don't believe I need to pay my barber a little tax on that either. So,
All right. Mr. John, what are your views on preservation of sustainable resources and the ecosystem?
Ooh, let's see.
And in 1 minute, please.
In 1 minute, huh? Yeah, that'll be tough. Well, I'm a proponent of mining in Arizona, but I also believe that the monitoring of what they're doing is important. And I've watched the Morenci mine. I actually watched the Safford mine going up when I was a county supervisor. Watched all the restrictions they went through, all the safety protocols, all the monitoring they went through to be able to do that. Now, you remember some of your state land money that provides for the schools are leased lands that provide education dollars to the state of Arizona. And so if you just want to just cut off all of those, we're going to have an education problem too. So I just think it needs to be managed properly. I think we have our own organizations within the state that can do that. I don't like to rely on the federal government to do anything in the state of Arizona. I'd like to do it ourselves.
We have a card here for Ms. Kilpatrick. Why does school funding appear to be the least of your priorities?
I don't think school funding is the least of my priorities. I think that if you'll look at my platform, there are two major issues in any society that needs to in order to grow and prosper, and that's education and security. Without either of which, you cannot grow, you cannot prosper if you do not feel safe and if you do not educate your youth and your people. So education is not the least of my priority. It is the top of my priority. I just think we don't need to break the backs of the people with more taxes that they cannot sustain, because ultimately if they cannot pay the taxes, they're going to quit working, and then you're not going to have any taxes. If you can't build up the economy or build up your education system with sustainable money, then you're not going to have an education system. I just think there are other options that we can look to first before taxing. That's it. We can deregulate. There's many ways to find the funding, the correct funding to sustain our schools.
All right, thank you. Before we continue with the individual questions, I want to ask two more lightning round questions, just show of hands. Number one, would you commit to continuing to fund Governor Ducey's 20 by 2020 plan regarding teacher raises if elected? It was 10% this year. It's supposed to go up another 5 and 5, I believe, is the projection. Would you commit to funding that?
That's a bad question, but I'll support it.
Commit to funding the 2020 plan? Okay. And secondly, do you support a law banning texting and driving? Raise your hand. Texting and driving. Do you support a law that would ban texting and driving statewide? Yes, we do.
Come on.
Coming right up for Mr. Alvarez. Okay, so no, just raise your hand, texting and driving. All right, three out of 5. All right, Mr. Alvarez, to you. Since resources are not unlimited, how do you propose ensuring opportunity for American citizens that have been provided by American taxpayers and making sure it's not depleted by non-citizens?
I'm sorry, the first part again?
Since resources are not unlimited, how do you propose ensuring opportunity for American citizens that has been provided by American taxpayers, making sure it is not depleted by non-citizens?
That the tax dollars are not depleted by...
I think the services that are provided through tax dollars are not depleted by non-citizens.
I would have to have a few more specifics on that because I don't understand where they're coming from. You know, when you say that something is not being provided, what is not being provided? Okay, what is being used up? What are the services that you are concerned about? I need specificity. All what? All services? Are they being depleted? Do we know of any that are depleted? When the question is depleted, you're talking about zeroing it out. The VA college funding? You're saying that it's being depleted because of non-American use? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, the question is not clear.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Mrs. Gomez, do you support civil asset forfeitures?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you support civil asset forfeitures?
Do I support civil asset forfeitures?
When law enforcement seizes property from people they believe to be criminals, do you support the civil forfeiture programs that the state has?
Well, if there's yes. If there was criminals that, yes.
Okay, well, because often it's taken through a civil and people are not actually prosecuted. I think
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Okay,
So-
are you familiar with civil forfeiture by law enforcement?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, well,
I'm
all
sorry.
right, swinging over to Mr. Gowan. If you'd like, yes.
On the, so,
On the civil, yeah,
so
yes.
say the question to me.
Okay, do you support civil forfeiture programs that the state currently have? The laws that allow prosecutors to take.
It depends on if they're guilty or not, but not people who are not, have not been,
Tried and convicted?
yeah, exactly, committed by the jury
Okay.
or
thank you.
judge.
Okay. For John? Drew?
For Drew Johns, as a resident of southern Arizona, border security is important. With current administration having strong stance, where do you stand?
As I said earlier, I think border security is going to fix a lot of problems with our drugs situation. It's going to fix a lot of our problems with our tax dollars taking care of non-citizens. It's going to solve a lot of our problems of the kids being separated from their parents. So I support securing the border, whether it's through technology or wall or both.
Thank you.
All right. And I think we're down to our last question of the evening for Ms. Kilpatrick. And I'm being handed a card here. What do you see as the biggest success and biggest failure of the legislature in the past 4 years?
The biggest success. Well, let's start with the biggest failure first. I think the biggest failure is transparency, lack of. That's the number one issue I hear when I go out and talk with people, that they're mad with the government because they're not being, there's just a lack of trust anymore on both sides. People are shouting at each other, people are backbiting in our communities because we don't feel like we have a voice anymore. We don't feel like we're being heard. And that's because we get double talk from those that are that have been elected. They're not telling us the whole truth. They tell us things like our budget is balanced. But how can it be balanced if we're still incurring debt? Our debt is increasing. They tell us things like they didn't raise the taxes, but there's new fees involved, so we are being taxed. That it's never going to go away for money that is already ours. People are tired of hearing that. So that's a challenge. I wish there was more transparency, and I think the only way you achieve that is by getting rid of career politicians. You set true term limits. You get new people in.
All right. Well,
So we're just about at the end.
yeah, I think we are. 7:30.
7:30.
We've been going for an hour and 15 minutes.
So I want to thank you to the candidates. You really would put through your paces. And thank you to the audience. Thank you also to Jim Metzel, my new friend. And I want to encourage you to cast your votes in the primary and the general election. Your votes count. And Jim?
All right, I've got a final little script here. To our candidates, we thank you so much for participating in this forum. To our audience members, we thank all of you who took time to come out and inform yourselves before voting. We encourage you to visit azcleanelections.gov/voter dashboard for a customized experience. There you can find information on the primary election, the candidates, and the issues, and you can view this debate on demand. Please fill out the debate evaluation form, return it to one of our volunteers. Your feedback is important to the commission and will help improve future debates. Thank you all for coming out tonight. You're welcome to stay and speak directly to the candidates.